Ja, so Classic wird nochmal genauer drüber gesprochen. Um 11:30 war es, glaube ich. Und jetzt kommt erstmal die nächste WoW-Erweiterung in Retail.
Nee, jetzt kommt erstmal Werbung.
Ja, jetzt kommt erstmal Werbung. Werbung, Werbung, Werbung.
Hey BlizzCon-Fans.
Es geht weiter.
Jetzt geht's weiter.
Es geht weiter.
Thank you. Welcome back to BlizzCon
Let's
2023.
go.
Over the next 2 days, there will be a series of 8 panels and presentations showcasing a variety of exciting new games and
Seid ihr immer noch so
updates,
grisselig?
led by some of Blizzard's
Ein bisschen.
amazing creators, artists, and designers. So, to kick it all off, here's our first presentation, World of Warcraft.
Schau, ob jetzt Ian
What's
kommt oder
Next?
Chris Metzen.
Four years have passed since the mortal races gathered together in Anaheim, California. And now, the drums of BlizzCon thunder once again. Let me hear the thunder! Yes!
Nicht mal Übersetzung lassen ist.
Ah! Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the World of Warcraft What's Next panel. My name is Taryn Gregory, and as you may have heard, thank you.
So, jetzt.
As you may have heard from Chris during the opening ceremonies, we are at the dawn of a new era of Warcraft. The Weltenseelen-Saga. A story that will play out over the next 3 expansions and will take us on an adventure in World of Warcraft like we've never experienced before. This saga kicks off with the War Within. In this first chapter, our heroes will be called on an expedition to the subterranean depths of Azeroth, revealing a new world full of mystery, wonder, and darkness.
Das Bild da im Hintergrund sieht schon aus wie ein
There we will
Dialota oder
confront the
so.
shadows below and face new challenges on the battlefield as well as in ourselves. So what is next? During this section, I'll share an overview of the story of the War Within, and then next you'll hear from Maria Hamilton, who will speak to zones and cultures, and then wrapping up with Morgan Day, who will talk about dungeons, the raid, and our new systems. Let's dig in. In our cinematic reveal, did you guys enjoy the cinematic? Whew. Big shout out to the cinematic team for their work on that. It's just incredible work. We witnessed as Thrall found Anduin Wrynn, who has been wandering alone for the last few years, grappling and lost in his own thoughts and dealing with the experience that he's been through, as many of you may have remembered. Throughout this and our features trailer, we learned 2 very important developments, starting with these visions. Thrall spoke of a vision calling out from the heart of the world, like a voice from a dream. This radiant song will compel our heroes to investigate its origins, and while at the same time, a darkness has been gathering. Even as the heroes adventured on the Dragon Isles, and in the War Within, the mysterious harbinger that Iridikron spoke of will reveal themselves. Xal'atath has returned.
Sie ist die Vorbotin. Oh, shit.
Oh.
Freed long ago from the black blade that once bound her, she is now the harbinger of a new era of the Void's dark machinations. And her message is clear. The Black Empire has fallen. The old gods are dead. And their ancient blood runs deep within the cracks of the world. We, the heroes of Azeroth, destroyed them.
Interessant, dass sie das jetzt so offiziell
The forces
sagen.
of the Horde and the Alliance have proven time and again they are among the most powerful armies that have ever stood. The Harbinger has watched this. She is patient. And while the Black Empire failed, Xal'atath now seeks to set in motion the rise of a new dark legacy, one that knows our true strength and will seek to test it against a new threat of terrible power, the Nerubians of
Boah,
Ashgahed.
ey.
Okay.
Xal'atath has conscripted the Nerubian queen Ansarek, having offered her people a new future, one in which they will rise from their isolation as a mighty kingdom once again. And here in this sprawling city of Ashgahed, we will not find the undead soldiers of the Lich King that we faced before, but
Geil.
instead a new mighty stronghold of the Nerubians as they once were, deadly survivors of the mythic wars that have played out time and again over thousands of years. In return for their loyalty, Xal'atath has granted the Nerubians the means of a dark evolution.
Oida.
One that will turn the Nerubians into a new kind of ferocious and terrifying soldier.
Die sehen aus wie
That we will
Predators.
clash against time and again in the war within. Now let's talk about who we'll be adventuring with. How do you like the key art?
Damn.
Several of Azeroth's greatest heroes will rise to the call of the Radiant
Übelst
Song,
geil.
and many will be
Mosaik,
faced with
danke
their
für den
own
Follow. Danke,
unique
danke.
challenges. Anduin, having survived his ordeal with domination. Yes, look at the art. Oh, incredible artwork. Anduin will be grappling with his relationship to the holy light that he no longer feels worthy of, while Thrall is seeking a connection to these visions, spreading across the world and working to find his new place in the Horde. While Magni Bronzebeard, long the Speaker of Azeroth, will
Neues
confront the
Wallpaper.
heavy weight of that responsibility
Wait, Magni
once
ist zurück? Oh nee.
and for all.
Oh, yes.
Champion! The Wounds Champion! Yes!
Jetzt von der Zeit.
But that brings us to, I know you saw this in the features trailer, Alleria Windrunner.
Boah. Marc, Alter, was sagst du? Alleria?
Alleria's journey will be central to the
Ui,
events
ja.
and themes of the War Within, as she, a void hunter, will use all of her prowess to hunt down the Harbinger while being torn between her own nature
Glaub ich,
and the maddening call of
muss
the
noch mal
void to which she
refreshen,
is
oder?
attuned. Along the adventure, she will have a unique rivalry
glaub
with
ich, ein Stück weiter
Xal'atath,
vor.
whose twists and turns will come to define the nature of this new conflict. Of course, we'll see many more familiar faces on our journey and meet a host of new and interesting characters along the way that Maria is going to tell you more about in just a moment. But finally, this
Ich
saga
würde
is
auch.
only just beginning. Conceived to be... Yes!
Ey, Mann, dieses Schwert.
Conceived to be
So
an
ein Meme
epic
geworden.
worthy of the first 20 years of World of Warcraft, the World Soul Saga aims to redefine the storytelling in our expansion set and strike boldly at the core themes that define Warcraft. The might of heroes, the responsibility of that power, the pursuit of justice. Got to do my best Mets in there. Justice! And the importance
Netter
of
Versuch.
finding common ground as
Schafft er
well
nicht.
as ourselves amidst adversity. Up next, may I introduce Maria Hamilton, who will be sharing more about our zones and cultures in the War Within. Thank
Oh,
you
jetzt bin ich
so
gespannt,
much.
ey. Das Ding ist, das sind ja wieder nur 4 Zonen. Das heißt, die müssen recht groß ausfallen.
Ja, allein schon mit den Drachenreiten und sowas.
Ja, stimmt, das wird ja auch übernommen.
Hello, Blizzcon. Wow, I am so excited to be here and delighted to represent our team and tell you about the places that we will explore and the cultures we will encounter in the War Within. I can't really see all of you out there. I know there's a lot of you, though, because I can hear you. And I hope to hear lots of oohs and ahs when you see some of this cool art I've got to show you. So let's get started. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Oha.
Yep, yep. Thank you.
Wait, zwischen Pandaria und Kalimdor.
Okay, as Taryn mentioned earlier, we'll be called by the Radiant Song, dreamlike visions that come from the heart of
Geil.
the Azeroth. This summons is going to lead us to the subcontinent of Khaz-Algar, a place long forgotten. It's only through recent
Khaz-Algar.
explorations in Uldaman that we've discovered a Watcher report concerning a contingent of Earthen that was sent to this place long, long ago to investigate a fissure in the sector. What exactly that means, we don't really know, but we can probably speculate. So first, let's talk about the Earthen.
Damn.
Ooh, there you go. There you go.
Anbauend,
All
Aufswarm.
right, we have met Titan-forged Earthen before, of course, in Ulduar and other places. But this society of Earthen has been
das sieht geil
isolated
aus.
within Khaz-Algar
Das wird eine
for
Zwergenerweiterung,
a
ey.
really long time and have developed their own manners and customs. Now, visually, these Earthen are a bit larger in stature, and they're noticeably blinged out. They've got gems all over them, bedazzled, blinged out, you know, that kind of thing, right? But philosophically, they are guided by the Edicts of the Titans, a set of codified orders, duties, and expectations that provide instructions for the core functions of their society. You know, Titans, order, all that, right? But the Titans have been absent for eons, and the Earthen are no longer united in their adherence to these edicts. They now exist as 3 groups that are estranged from each other. The Oathsworn, as their name suggests, still uphold the
Zwerge
edicts
von
faithfully
Moria.
and believe everyone else is doing it wrong. Their charge is guarding the Core Way, a Titan passageway that leads right to the core of Azeroth. They're primarily the city dwellers. They live conveniently near the object of their responsibility, that Core Way. Now, the Unbound, in contrast, have abandoned the edicts, and they are considered scandalously rebellious by the Oathsworn. Their original responsibility was providing the materials to keep the Titan installations supplied, and they're primarily rural. They're living in and around the quarries and the mines where natural resources can be acquired. They rarely interact with the city dwellers. They feel neglected and ignored because they have a different opinion on how they should live. Now, the machine speakers have strayed from the edicts in practice, but not with respect to their overall obligation to keep the Titan works functioning. They've had extremely limited contact with the surface dwellers, and they express no little disdain for those who just don't understand the great machines. Their homes are built around vast industrial projects under the surface that allow them to perform their functions in accordance with edicts, more or less. These different perspectives among the Earthen and their variable adherence to the Titan's edicts has weakened the society as originally structured. And that's not good, of course, but a much more serious problem is their steadily dwindling numbers. For reasons that I'm not going to get into here and now, New Earthen can't exist until we help them out by doing some things and unite the Earthen society once more. Happily, as a
Alter.
result of our actions, the Earthen will eventually be unlocked as an allied race.
Geil, ey.
They look sweet, don't they? Yeah.
Machen wir so einen richtigen Ragnar.
Oh, yes.
These player Earthen will replenish
Oha.
the culture's dwindling numbers.
Weibliche
And may
Zwerge
join
mit
either the
Bärten?
Horde or the Alliance. Yeah. It is
Ach
of
so,
course
beide.
player's
Nice.
choice which side you wish
Stimmt.
to allow.
Zwerge für die Horde.
But as you can see from a small sampling of combinations, there's some fantastic
Also neutrales
variations
Volk
and
sogar.
customizations coming for the Earthen models.
So wie die
including different
Pandaren,
gem
ne?
incrustations, beards for all body types, rocky skin patterns, tones, and more. Now that golden mohawk with the braids and the fringe beard, that's quite the look. But I really like the beardless guy with the bushy blonde
Die Rasse hab ich
eyebrows. He
Bock,
looks
ey.
so cool. He's just kind of like, yep, what do you want me to do?
Die wird safe gespielt.
So, anyway, all right, moving on. Another cool culture that players will
Arathi.
encounter in the War Within is the Arathi. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and you probably have questions, right? So these are descendants of the original Arathorian Empire, and they've arrived relatively recently.
Oh, das könnten einfach schon Tiersets sein, ne?
Guck dir das erste Set an, wie Paladin.
Das könnte einfach Pala-Tierset sein.
Mysterious mostly because I
Ganz
can't
rechts
say anything more
Priester.
about it just yet because of spoilers, but it's not like spooky mysterious.
Sieht aus wie
it's the
Schurke
other
auf jeden Fall. Und
As a people, the Arathi are worshippers and wielders of holy fire. They are dedicated to bringing hope and light to the
Stoff, Leder,
darkness.
Kette, Platte.
They're tough, resilient people, with every member of the society being an able combatant. Some few are further blessed with paladin-like abilities through their devotion to the light. Even their airships are powered by sacred flame. The extent to which they're comfortable in battle is probably a good thing, because they have established a home away from home in an enormous cavern bordered by an endless underground sea, from which terrifying creatures emerge to rampage and create havoc. Not my idea of a cool place to hang out, but they're really, really tough. These watery monstrosities, though, are nothing compared to the threat from below. A constant swarm of Nerubians has been held back so far from invading the Arathi lands. The assault is unrelenting, the threat is dire, and the Arathi can't hold much longer. These bastions of light against the darkness are far from home and limited in number. Sure would be terrible if there was also division within the Arathi ranks. Just saying. That would be pretty rough, what with them being so outnumbered. We could probably help them. All right, speaking of the Nerubians in the War Within, we'll explore their last kingdom deep within Khazalgar. These ancient survivors of the Black Empire who rejected their former masters have
sehen
developed
schon
their
crazy
own
aus,
culture here in the deep darkness. As Taryn mentioned earlier, Xalatath has made a bargain with the Nerubian queen Anserek, who seeks a new future and renewed glory for her people. The Nerubians are extremely capable and devious adversaries who have been honing their skills with their constant assault on the Arathi. But domination hasn't come fast enough for the Queen's taste, as the Arathi has managed to hold against this onslaught. So this deal with
Sowas
the
wäre mal was
Harbinger
als spielbare
has
Rasse.
included some assistance for her troops. Through
Aber
some
ich glaub,
dark
sowas wird nicht kommen.
alchemical process,
Ist doch schwierig mit den
Xalatath has
Modellen
provided
wieder.
the knowledge required to evolve chosen Nerubians into paragons of their race, enhancing their viciousness. And Queen Anserek has embraced these modifications with enthusiasm and eagerly offered her army to achieve the Harbinger's schemes. It appears to be a win-win situation. But not all Nerubians share their sovereign's enthusiasm for change and her embrace of Xalatath. Shadowy figures with far too many limbs maneuver against the Harbinger's plans in opposition to the Queen's desire. As you might expect, any foray into this Nerubian kingdom introduces us to a variety of citizens, including some forms we've never encountered before. Here's a layout of some of the Nerubian models that are completed and also some that are in progress, as well as scale reference for goblins and humans, so you just get a sense of size. In addition to the Nerubian citizens, there are also domesticated insects who serve the kingdom as beasts of burden and pets. The team is hard at work building out the full range of carapaces, carapae, I don't know, whichever, skittering legs, grabby arms, piercing spiky bits, and creepy eyes for you to enjoy, I guess. All right, let's talk about our zones.
Oh, yes.
The surface of Khazalgar is our first zone, called the
Oh,
Isle of
Junge.
Dorn. This is the home of the earthen surface dwellers, as well
Ganzen
as other native
Zwergenbauten.
species of
Sieht so gut
creatures.
aus.
The fertile soil, flowering plant life, and generous waterways provide nourishment for animals in this untouched paradise. An
Alter.
important facet of earthen society is Cinderbrew mead. This volatile substance is manufactured from molten honey produced by enormous fiery bees. Their home groves are a remarkable sight as the hearts of the trees themselves glow with lava-like fluid. Harvesting is always an exciting time as the ferocious creatures are understandably protective of their hives. Now the roosts at Storm Watch are wreathed with lightning and fierce winds. These wild elemental rooks may choose to serve a member of the Oathsworn, who if so blessed becomes a Storm Rider, one of the guardian warriors of the
Alter.
earthen people.
Das sieht so gut aus.
The
Übelst die
Unbound deal with
Zwergenstadt.
hostile creatures from
Boah.
time to time, but for the most part, the existence is fairly relatively peaceful, fairly sort of peaceful. Their comfortable homes are often situated near the places where they once labored as adherents to the edicts. Those sites are now in disrepair, and in some cases, the lair of other creatures. Of course, the Isle of Dorn boasts a great walled city where the Oathsworn live and serve the edicts of the Titans.
Boah, ich hab so
The
Bock,
city
ey.
of Dornagal is the location of many
Junge.
important civic buildings, markets, traders, and crafters. And it's here that a traveler will find the expected amenities of a capital city, as well as the Titan Causeway, the defense of which is the Oathsworn's primary charge. Now, beneath the surface of the Isle of Dorn lies our second zone, the Ringing Deeps. As the name suggests, it is here that the Earthen are
Moria.
engaged in their work in accordance with the edicts. In these industrial areas,
Einfach
in this
riesige Mine.
cavernous space are huge, complicated machines, lava-heated foundries and forges, and waterworks, both to cool and to power huge machinery. Maintaining these Titan mechanisms
auch trotzdem
and
da
keeping
unterirdisch
everything
zu
running
grün.
is both the responsibility and the passion of the machine speakers. The Earth has shifted too in places, revealing openings to the sky above to the Isle of Dorn. These cenotes bring light and water into areas once
Kobolde.
shrouded in darkness.
Ich nicht
Abundant
nehmen,
greenery,
Kerz.
flowers, and creatures that do not typically dwell in
Gott.
caverns
Neue
may be found in
Kobold-Modelle.
these idyllic spots. It was really
Aber wie cool die
important to
ausschauen.
us as developers that we delivered the fantasy of the hard-working industry, but still had some break-up areas of natural beauty that don't feel like dark, constrained tunnels. Now, as the machine speaker population has dropped, they've had increasing difficulties with kobold incursions, and indeed the kobolds have taken over the mines, the work areas, they've even built a city of their own. Unexpectedly, the kobolds are actually becoming a force to be reckoned with under the aggressive actions of their leader, the Candle King. You knew it had to be a candle. No take candle.
Du nicht nehmen,
No take
Kerze.
candle. With the passage of time, the earthen have diminished both in number and in the knowledge required to perform the various routines
Mario
to tune and
Bolzons.
repair the processes.
Ein
The old
Fico,
ways have been
moin.
forgotten, and new creative methods must be employed if the edicts are to be obeyed. So they're kind of making it up as they go along. From the ringing
Ach,
deeps,
Feierabend.
we descend further into Kazalgar to reach
Alter, was
Hollowfall,
ist das da im
a
Hintergrund?
vast hollow area in the earth, bordered by an endless underground sea.
Sieht aus wie so ein riesiges Schiff von den Lichtgeschmiedeten.
Bright light of an enormous crystal
Alter.
has allowed the Arathi to survive, using their airships to travel to high
Die
plateaus and
Häuser, wie
establish
geil das
docks,
aussieht.
light towers, villages, and even a priory. From their capital of Merildar, these trapped people strive to keep hope alive and spread the
Boah, als
light,
Parler fühle ich mich
while
da wohl.
engaged in a near constant battle with the Nerubians at their
Alter.
borders.
Boah, Junge.
The open spaces, the bright light, and the greenery are intended to feel as though we're on the surface, somehow, rather than in this sort of strange hollow within Azeroth. The crystal provides brilliant light, warmth, and growth for vegetation.
Wow, die Grafik ist echt so
You may notice that
2013.
all
Ist
the
egal.
blooming plants
Sieht
have
geil
opened
aus.
their blossoms toward the light and seem to be reaching in that direction whenever they're in Hollowfall.
Kann man den abbauen?
Unfortunately,
Den
the
Kristall?
crystal sun has been changing in recent years. Where
Lol.
once the light was steady and
was?
reliable, it now fades without warning, plunging the Arathi into darkness, save where they have built light towers and maintain their holy flame beacons.
Sehr geil.
In the absence of this light, the dangerous Kobis and other fierce creatures emerge from the sea to rampage. As the Arathi are barely holding
Das
back
sieht
the
übelst
Nerubians,
außerirdisch
these
aus.
unpredictable episodes are incredibly demoralizing and deadly. Happily, the light has always returned to the crystal.
Miss
So far.
Dörte, Dankeschön für ein Bild. Und
And at the
hallo.
deepest descent in the war within, we reach the
kommt die
zone of
4-Grafik in WoW?
Aj-Kahet.
Hoffentlich
Almost
nie.
rhymes. Anyway,
Hoffentlich
the
nie.
Nerubian city of Threads has been built on the ruins of itself, over and over and over again. As areas decay and crumble, a new district is built upon its ruins, and as a result, the city
Die
climbs
Zone wird halt
ever
auch so
higher.
richtige Nordend-Vibes geben.
Those Nerubians
Aber
favored
sowas
by
von,
the
ja.
queen, or possessing enormous wealth, or both, command the greatest views and live in the highest places over these swarming masses of the many districts. The Burrows is the home of the scavengers, the forgotten, deep in the decay and the filth. The Umbral Bazaar is a trading hub of fine silks, fascinating alchemical discoveries, and other exotic and hard-to-find goods. The Skanes are the home of the lore keepers and scholars who toil to maintain the history of their people and research myths and legends of Azeroth. There are many other
Anuba,
districts and less
nicht
than
Anubarak.
savory neighborhoods,
Wie heißt
both
die?
well-known
Frankreich.
and secret, that the careful
Königreich und so.
adventurer could discover, should they risk
Genau.
life and limb to do so. But the key to such exploration
Und
is fitting in among the
Azio-Nirup.
Nerubians and being accepted.
Das war ja auch damals
An
als eine
enterprise
große Zone
both
geplant in
best
WOTK.
accomplished through skill in the use of pheromones and considerable bravery. The zone of Aj-Kahet
Sind wir
features
wieder in
areas
Nasata?
of spectacular dark beauty
Nee,
that
nee,
are
nee, nee,
inhabited
nee.
by these creatures that have
Ist ein
found a
neuer
way to
Kontinent.
live among the Nerubians without being deemed a threat, found to be particularly tasty to consume, or just
Das
too much
hätte es
fun
halt
to
in
torment.
Nordend
Mächtig
geben
aus.
können, ey.
The mobilization of forces to assault the Arathi while
Geil,
also
ey.
providing military might to achieve Xalatath's schemes has stirred up all sorts of inhabitants of the darkness. And deep within the city itself, the Nerubians are gathering an odd substance, the black
Sieht wieder aus
blood
wie bei den
of the
Waldelfen in
old
Shadowlands.
gods for some unknown purpose. But I'm sure that's fine. And now I'd like to talk a little bit about our zone flow. As I
Oha.
mentioned,
Junge.
Ah, das Ding ist ja, man hatte sogar schon Alas Asche und Unbesiegbar mit dem Dragon Riding System fliegen
Yes.
sehen.
Yes,
Also übernehmen die
yes.
das wahrscheinlich für alle Mounts.
Wie
groß die Zone ist.
Alter,
Alter!
War within, all of our zones are connected
Guck dir
all
das
together
an.
using the
Die sind
airlock
so
technology that
riesig.
we developed for Zaralek Cavern, allowing for this seamless
Ich hab noch nie
descent
so eine
from the Isle of
riesigen
Dorne
Zonen gesehen,
all
ey.
the way to Aj-Kahet. That was video I just captured last week of the transition between the Ringing Deeps and Hollowfall. As you can see,
Alter.
we built for dynamic flight and we were able to flow directly between the zones without the load screen. There is some seriously amazing swoopy goodness to be had.
Wird auch viel
moving
wieder, ja,
across
safe,
these
auf jeden
zones and
Fall,
through
das
these
ist schon, ja.
spaces. It feels so cool.
Ich glaube, der
to burst
Großteil
out
ist
of a
unter der
really
Erde, ja.
tight
Das ist ein
area and into
unterirdischer
a
Kontinent.
huge drop like that. It's
Sah zumindest so
so
aus, ja.
exhilarating. Now, this blobby map that I've got up here was an early attempt during development of our zone flow to try to figure out how we would stack these zones together and achieve the relationship between their geography and geometry that made sense and felt great to traverse. We ended up with something slightly different than this, but this is pretty representative to explain what the world builders were thinking about when they planned these spaces out. It was really important to our design that while 3 of the 4 zones are technically underground, they didn't feel that way, and that they were distinctly different from one
3 von
another.
4.
We pursued that goal by introducing the natural cenotes in the ringing deeps and leaning into the fantasy of the classic underground foundry and industrial workspaces. So even in the zone that felt the tightest, there's places that look as though they're actually on the surface. And within Hollowfall, we created a massive hollow space in a cavern so vast it feels like an exterior, with a huge artificial sun in the form of a gigantic
Das ist
crystal.
ja schon auch übelst die
And in
Höhenunterschiede.
Oshhead, we leaned hard into traditional Nerubian architecture with hanging nests and huge palaces built all over a decaying city that just falls away into the depths. And that is the last bit of eye candy I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this peek at what we've got in development.
Also die Zonen sehen richtig geil aus und ich glaube, die werden noch größer als Dracheninseln. Alter.
So now it's time for me to introduce you to Morgan Day, who's going to give you lots of information about dungeons, raids, and systems. Enjoy. Thanks very much. Bye.
Okay.
Nice.
Kein Ian?
Nice, nice.
Kein Ian, kein Chris Metzen.
Nö. Kommen wir schon morgen.
Hello, Blizzcon.
Jo, er hat schon das neue T-Shirt.
My name is Morgan Day, and I'm here to talk to you about some of the upcoming content, features, and systems in The War Within. I'm sure I'll also make some funny faces that I'll regret later in thumbnails, but whatever. First up, let's talk about dungeons. There will be 8 new dungeons coming in The War Within, 4 during level up, 1 in each of the 4 zones that Maria just walked us through, as well as 4 at max level. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in these
Danke
dungeons.
für dein
For
Sub am
instance, we have like a
22.
Kobold
Danke dir.
dungeon where you'll meet that Candle King,
Gut, dass
where
er
there's
es
like
nicht
a light
vorliest.
mechanic
Puh.
that takes place. You have to kind of keep it going to light your way. There's a dragon riding dungeon, of course, but also one of my favorites is
Hat er gerade Dragon Riding Dungeon gesagt?
Maria just talked us through.
Ja,
So this
haben wir
is a
schon eine
dungeon that
gehabt.
takes place on our first zone, the
Stimmt,
Isle
ja,
of
stimmt.
Thorn, which is where you'll experience, all of our earthen buddies, and this is the place where they make that cinder brew mead
Aber
that
mit
she was
dem Mount,
talking about.
voll geil.
They take in all
Geil,
that
ey,
honey
einfach
that
so
they
eine
gather
Zwergenbrauerei
throughout the
als
zone
Inni.
to make the mead, to do all kinds of fun and/or nefarious things with. Although I do have to say, I
Nee,
feel like
liest
they're
du
a
nicht
little
vor.
bit
Ich hab die
behind
alle
the
jetzt
times. I feel
ausgemacht
like all
für
the
n-
kids are drinking that,
für die
hard
Blizzcon.
seltzer or something these days, but whatever. They're old school, I get it. Next up, our raid, the Nerubar Palace. So this is an
Boah.
8-boss raid that will take place in the zone of
War klar.
Ajkahet. And this is really the culmination of all of those machinations
Schön,
we keep
Nerubar
hearing
raid.
about that we see play
Voll
out
geil.
between the Nerubian Empire, their queen, and her collaboration with Xalatath. So for this next one, we don't normally show things this early, but I thought it'd be cool to share. On the left there, you can kind of see the top-down view of the raid, and on the right, it's more of like a side cutout. So we like to
Okay.
work on all of our dungeons and raids when they still look like this, as it's much easier to iterate while we're in 2D than it is to kind of change the zones around once we're in the game and it's all blocked out. So to step us through the raid really quickly, after barging through the front door, you'll very quickly fall and/or get knocked into one of those giant pits of that black blood of the old god that
Ach,
you'll
du
hear
kannst
much
im
more
Raid
about in
dann
Ajkahet.
fliegen, oder wie?
And then you'll battle your way through the harvest
Das wär
pits,
krass.
and then finally traverse your way back up through the stalactite wing, which is not a final name, I promise, until you
Lol.
finally fight your way into the queen's inner sanctum, where you'll come face to face with her as the end boss. So as you can see, this will kind of feel like a winged raid in terms of the vibes, but in terms of the player experience, it'll actually be quite a bit more linear than what you might be used to for a raid with some winged vibes. So something that I also think is fun to talk about really quick is with all of our dungeons
Endlich
and
Dungeons
raids, we
machen
like
und
to
durchfliegen, das
try
wär schon
to
geil.
explore like what is the thing that's going to make this space feel really unique, that's going to make it stand out from all the other times that we've built these dungeons and raids. And with this space, we really thought that, you know, given that we have the Nerubian to play with, they've got all these amazing like webs and silken threads that you can kind of traverse the zone through. We thought it'd be really fun to explore verticality as a major element of this raid. So I think that'll be really fun to see what the team comes up with for that. Next up, let's talk about systems.
So.
Oh, jetzt wird's interessant.
So I want to walk you through some of our features and systems at a really high level, but first I want to talk about some of the philosophies that are really guiding us to add these into the War Within. So first and foremost, you know, we really want to continue to extend the philosophies of Dragonflight into the War Within. And really when we talk about that, there's three main pillars that I want to touch on. First, we really want to make sure that we're focusing on evergreen features. We want to make sure that we're making World of Warcraft better forever and not focusing on things that we know we're going to have to leave behind as we move into future expansions.
Ja, ist gut. Ist so wie mit den Artefaktsystemen in der Vergangenheit.
Genau. Ja.
Next, we want to make sure that there's something for everyone. So whether you're a hardcore raider, a PvPer, a collector, or apparently like Holly, you just love to play tons of alts and run around the world exploring things, we want to make sure that there's something in War Within that you can really geek out over and that resonates with you. And finally, we want to make sure that we're continuing to build on our philosophy and build on our systems and content with people who play multiple characters in mind. We want to make sure... We want to make sure that we're building all of our systems to really respect the time of the player behind the keyboard and not focusing so much on the accomplishments of that individual character.
Nice.
So let's talk about delves. Delves are a new feature that will be integrated into the outdoor world experience, where the fantasy of these is actually that you'll be joining the Dragonscale expedition in their search for lost treasures all across Khazalgar. So delves are an evergreen feature that is really integrated into that outdoor world experience. We want delves to be a new pillar of endgame content for those outdoor world explorers. We really view this as something like when we added world quests back in Legion, where they are going to be really integrated and transformative into that outdoor world, especially that endgame loop. So one of the main reasons I'm stoked about delves is that these will provide an opportunity for us to, you know, give seasonal content and rewards to those outdoor world explorers. So that means things like, you know, rewards that you're used to, like mounts, achievements, titles, but we'll also be adding a outdoor row to the Great Vault with War Within.
Nicht schlecht.
Wann kommt Season Pass in WoW? Kappa?
So that all of you outdoor world explorers will be able to share in the joy of, you know, rushing to the Great Vault every week to collect your loot.
Chaos, Aufwertung aus der
And there will
Vorbestellung
also
gemacht
be
und Chart direkt
13 unique
424
delves
GS.
that will be launching War Within
What?
with.
Alter.
And delves will scale from 1 to 5 players and be role agnostic. So that means if you want to play a delve solo, that's totally cool.
Okay.
If you want to go with you and your
Finde ich auch
partner,
gut, die
that works
Option.
as well. Or you can bring your whole dungeon group in, and the delve will scale based on
Dass
your
man's
group
auch solo
size
machen kann
and
halt, ne?
your roles.
Ja, Solo-Sachen sind auch ganz cool, finde ich.
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one of my favorite features of delves, which I think Maria alluded to earlier, which is that there will be an NPC companion joining you on all of your adventures. So for Season 1, that'll be Bran Bronzebeard, as you
Oha.
can see.
Der gute alte Bran.
Lol, wie geil.
And Bran
Seiner
will be
Kanone.
tagging along with you on all of your delve adventures and will totally never, not even once, aggro a pack of monsters that you didn't want him to.
Der Hunter war's.
I don't have my fingers crossed behind my back right now. So Bran will have a custom... Bran will have a customizable talents and mechanics and abilities that you'll be able to kind of load out to suit your playstyle and needs. So, you know, maybe you need a little bit of extra healing. Well, you can load Bran out to provide that for you. And finally,
Wie in
you
Warlords of
would be
Draenor.
exploring with the Dragonscale Expedition.
Da war's
if
aber
at
bloß
the end of
questbezogen,
every
glaub ich.
delve there wasn't this massive treasure trove that we need Bran to open for us, which hopefully brought a couple of keys to open some of the chests in there. But before Bran can open that that vault for you, you'll need to maybe defeat a boss, maybe you'll solve a couple puzzles, something like that, and then Bran will be able to open that vault door for you.
Das könnte ein cooles Feature werden. So ein bisschen Island Expedition mäßig.
Next up, let's talk about warbands. Ah, it's happening!
Account-Weiterruf, ja!
So warbands are a system that we're introducing that will really be the representation of all of your characters across your Battle.net account. Warbands are an opportunity for us to create a platform where you can share your achievements, resources, and all that other good stuff across all of those characters. So the goal of this system is really to be that representation of the philosophy shift that I mentioned earlier about really respecting the time of the player behind the keyboards and not those individual characters. There's actually a ton of additions and modifications. We've talked about a few here. There's no like singular UI screen that says warbands. It's more of like all these modifications and updates and features are like kind of wearing a big coat that says warbands on the back of it. It's how I kind of keep it straight in my head. But just to talk about a couple of those cool features, we'll actually be revisiting the transmog rules of how you acquire those appearances in the War Within. So for all of you who have So that means all of you who have probably had to run 4 characters through all of those legacy instances just to make sure you're collecting all the appearances, that won't be the case anymore in War Within. You'll just be able to run it with 1 character.
Wait, what?
What?
Was? Heißt es jetzt, ich kann jetzt auch Stoff-Transmog collecten mit einem Krieger oder was?
Holly mentioned this already, but this is obviously one that people are looking forward to. All of our reputations as well as renown in the War Within will be shared across your entire account.
Bruh.
Lol.
Okay. Oh!
Last but not least, let's talk about hero talents. So here's a quick mock-up of what the UI will look like. That I think really helps explain how these integrate into our current talent trees. But really quick, let's take a look at how this will work. So there will be 3 new hero talent trees per class, and 2 will be available per specialization that you can freely choose and swap between. And also, this is another evergreen feature. This is a system that we think is going to provide a new vector of choice and customization for you and all of your classes, as well as create opportunities for us to really dig into some of those core class fantasies that are, so amazing. So Hero Talents will introduce these new, small, self-contained talent trees like you just saw in the UI. And the way I like to think about it is like, currently we have 2 types of talent points, right? We have class talent points and specialization talent points. And now in the War Within, there'll be a 3rd type called Hero Talent Points. So let's look at a quick example, which hopefully explains it a little bit more. This is a warrior, as you can see.
Oh, Krieger.
These are the 3 hero talent trees that they'll have available: Mountain Thane, Colossus, and Slayer. And as you can see in the top left, we have Protection, who will be able to choose between Mountain Thane and Colossus. Up on the right, you see Fury. Yep, that's right. Mountain Thane and Slayer are their options. And down at the bottom, Colossus and Slayer are their options. So this is how the majority of our classes are going to look in the War Within. The exception, of course, being Druids and Demon Hunters, who are a bit special, so theirs will look a little different. So let's take a look at how you'll unlock the system, as well as how it'll feel playing through as you're leveling through the War Within. So the system will automatically unlock at level 71, and it'll just kind of appear in your UI.
Macht Sinn.
You'll earn 1 talent point per level as you level from 71 to 80. And there are 10 talent points in total, with several choice nodes along the way. So I like to think of this as being similar to like the Legion artifact, where as you were leveling and progressing, you were making some choices along the way, but ultimately you're going to unlock the whole tree. And also, I want to be very clear here. These are extremely low friction to swap between those choice nodes, as well as to swap between the different hero talent trees.
Sehr geil. Dann kann man auch viel rumexperimentieren.
Ja. Sehr geil.
So, this should be very analogous to your current talent trees and will follow all the same rules that you used to there. So, at the start of a raid boss, before Mythic Plus starts, before an arena match kicks off, and anywhere in between. And to wrap us up, I wanted to show off a really quick video of what hero talents look like in action. So this is a warrior, as you can see, pop an
Krieger.
avatar, jumping in. And this next one is that same warrior with the Mountain Thane talent tree. As you can see, Stormbolt hits multiple targets. There's a couple of
Alter.
cool effects and a lot of other cool stuff going on there as well. I heard some oohs.
Stormbolt AOE?
Our effects artists will be happy. So
Ist ja
that
wie
about wraps us up for
Ja,
our
stimmt.
What's Next panel.
Diese Skillverteilung. Bloß geiler.
We hope you really liked what you
Gefällt
saw
mir
here.
sehr
And
mit
if you'd
den
like to
hellen
know more,
Talenten.
please join us tomorrow at the Deep Dive panel at noon, where Ian will walk you through some of what you
Ian!
saw today in more detail,
Okay, also morgen auf jeden Fall auch
as
reinschauen.
well as a bunch of other cool new stuff in the War Within. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a great BlizzCon. Bye.
Hast du schon mit WoW?
Weiß ich noch nicht. Schauen wir mal.
Glaub schon.
Aber auf jeden Fall so schöne Änderungen.
Ich bin jetzt schon gespannt, wie das bei den anderen Klassen und Specs ausschauen wird mit den ganzen hellen Talenten.